Hello there, interwebs. I am the Bechtloff, and this is, of course, my podcast. Didn't have a podcast last week. I recorded one, and I had some technical issues. File got corrupted. And I want to say I didn't have time to record another one, but frankly, I was just lazy. Uh, no excuse there. But here I am back again this week, so all 12 of my fans can't be disappointed. I like to say all 9, but I think it's gone up just a touch here in the past couple weeks. Alright, first thing I want to talk about is I got a confession for everybody. I love Taylor Swift. I can't lie. I really just adore Taylor Swift. And I don't mean merely that I want to fuck her. Although I do. I absolutely want to fuck her. I would completely destroy that girl. I want to fuck her in front of a mirror so I can grab her hair and like hold her head up so she has to look at me to file her while it's going on. That's how bad I want to fuck her. But that's not what I'm talking about. Getting sidetracked here. I actually genuinely like, despite being a completely heterosexual man, I like Taylor Swift's music. I really do. I like Taylor Swift, the fucking brand. And before any of you like, alright, Bechtloff, I'm going to take away your man card. Fuck you, alright? It's a cute blonde with a pretty voice who pisses off feminists and SJWs. Just pisses them off with her mere existence, practically. I mean, feminists just can't stand the fact that here is a girl that's actually girly. Holy crap, that just messes with their whole hateful, semi-masculine, man-jaw, she-beast world. And the SJWs. I mean, recently they bitched that her latest music video for the song "Shake It Off" is racist and is all about white privilege. Because I guess throughout the video, she parodies a bunch of other videos. And one of them, she's parodying, I guess, a Nicki Minaj video or some shit. I don't fucking know. She looks like she's dressed like Fergie, but I don't fucking know. But that's her being white privilege because she's making fun of Nicki Minaj. Fuck Nicki Minaj. She's fucking garbage. But, I love Taylor Swift stuff. I love her songs. I really do. And I don't actually own any of her albums. But, shit, there's like 40 fucking songs of hers that have been on the radio. I mean, she's prolific as all hell. And I'm not gonna lie, I got like 10 of them fuckers on my MP3. I'm not gonna, I love them. I love them. They're so fucking adorable. They're so beautifully adorable. It's just, they're so feminine. They're so adorable. They're just, I love them. And here's how much I love them. Her latest song, "Shake It Off." The video I mentioned, obviously, makes SJW's pussies hurt. So that's always good to do. But the song itself, the video is actually kind of cute. The way it parodies other videos, it's I don't know. Do videos even fucking matter anymore? I mean, they're not even on TV. You have to go like on YouTube to watch a fucking music video anymore. There's channels dedicated ostensibly to music videos that don't play music videos anymore. But the song itself is garbage. It is absolute garbage. It's just completely. I guess the actual beat, melody, whatever you want to say, isn't bad. I mean, it's pop, but I actually kind of like pop music. But the lyrics are just self-indulgent tripe on a level that she's never even began to approach. It is complete and total proof to me that the woman has far too much creative control. There's a part in there where I don't want to say it's like a rap, but it's like a spoken word part. And it's just awful. And I still like it. I can't lie. I still like it. Don't judge me. The Bible says not to. I still fucking like that song. And I recognize everything wrong with it. I recognize it's a bad song. I still like it. Just something about her, she just fucking sells it. I don't know. I can't even put my finger on it. It's like one of those actors that everyone loves when in reality all they're doing is just completely inappropriately over the top performances, but somehow they can sell it. I guess like your Christopher Walkens and shit, just somehow, despite the fact that all their performance is most of the time it's just an order of extra ham and cheese, everyone loves it because they just sell it. And that's how I feel about that song. It's so terrible, but I love it. I can't lie, I love it. I'm not putting it on my MP3 player though, because I'm almost embarrassed to, because it's, I don't know, what's the old joke where it's like my music taste run from "you gotta listen to this" to "I know, don't judge me"? Well, yeah, that's the "I know, don't judge me" song. But I like her stuff. I like her stuff. She cute blonde with pretty voice. She pisses off feminists. What's not to love? And by the way, I apologize if you hear my dog snoring here. I don't know if the mic's picking up. He is insisting on being right next to me. I had another dog that passed away just Friday, and had to put him down. He was sick for a while. He had what do they call it? Angina, enlarged heart. Hopefully I got that right. He had an enlarged heart. He was a little dog to begin with, Cavalier Spaniel. His name was Stewie. And the heart was just large to the point where it was pushing up against his lungs, and he was having a hard time breathing. Vet told me a couple months ago there's nothing we could do about it. Gave us some maintenance medicine that would give him a few good months, and it did. But finally it reached a point where he wasn't having good days anymore, and it was just selfish to keep him around. He wasn't getting anything out of life anymore, and he was probably suffering, so it was time. And my other dog here, Loki, well, I guess he misses his buddy. So if you're hearing dogs snoring, I apologize, but I'm not gonna shoo him away. So if you hear it, just deal with it. I've certainly had worse audio issues on this podcast. Next thing I guess to talk about, the obligatory Gamergate talk. Let's talk some Gamergate. And what do I even say here? I mean, what is to even say about Gamergate anymore? What is to say? Everything is happening, but nothing is happening. I mean, I guess since my last podcast, the whole thing with the emails, like between the companies, the different media companies, the little internet sites, was about how they want to push their agenda. Like that got exposed, the email list. I mean, if you're listening to me, you probably know all this. You've probably been watching like Internet Aristocrat videos and, like Jordan Owen talking about it, or Rini, or Monday Matt, or those guys. You probably listen to it. If you're listening to me, you probably listen to at least some of those guys. Camera Girl, I think, is the one that did a good job of exposing stuff. A lot of great videos out there. I mean, wealth of information. What am I going to provide you that you haven't heard? And more to the point, if you're anti-Gamergate, what the hell am I going to say to you? What am I going to say to you that's going to continue? I don't know how to explain to you that... I don't know how to explain to you what's wrong with this stuff if you don't see it. Oh, so a big deal. Journalists are just literally in bed with an industry they're attempting to cover. What's the big deal? Then I don't know how to explain it to you. I don't know how to explain it to you then. 4chan recently, the owner of 4chan, Moot, recently censored all the Gamergate shit, which led to the creation of 8chan and the inevitable slow heat death of 4chan now. But it was revealed that the reason he did this, or at least likely the reason he did this, is he's friends with the person that owns, I guess, Silverstring Media or whatever. I remember seeing a Movie Bob tweet where he's like, big deal, so he's friends with someone. Oh, big conspiracy there. No, again, you're either purposely missing the point, or you're just fucking retarded. And either way, what am I going to say to you, okay? You're either stupid or evil at this point, Bob. You're just all you anti-Gamergate people. You're either uninformed, or you're fucking stupid, or you're just plain evil. On the off chance you're uninformed, go fucking inform yourself. All right, go watch all the videos on the stuff. Go do the research. And if you're still not convinced, then you got to be in one of the other two camps. I don't know what to do with you at that point. What's the big deal? It's not that you're missing the point. You're completely missing the point, Bobby. And you're fucking doing it on purpose. So yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if I want to talk about Gamergate anymore. And I almost hate, like, I do, but it's reached a point where I don't feel like I can contribute anything to it. All I'm doing anymore is just, I retweet stuff, and I say, hey, check out this video and all. But I mean, and I support it, but what am I going to say? What am I going to add to this at this point? It's just keep marching forward. Just don't go to the sites that ignore Gamergate, and support the new sites that will be coming out that actually don't want to shit on your hobby and push their bullshit, moralistic, left-wing crap down your throat. One interesting thing about Gamergate, though, in the last week or so is it spilled off into ComicGate. I made a video about it before, but there was an alternate cover supposed to come out to Spider-Woman comic, new Spider-Woman comic. And the variant cover had a pose where her ass was kind of showed off a little bit. You know, she was crawling around, kind of had her ass up in the air. Now, she's Spider-Woman. Of course she's crawling around. Hell, there's been covers that have shown Spider-Man in the exact same pose. Well, not exact same, but same ass up in the air, crawling around pose. You know, male superheroes have been in suggested poses. Don't say they haven't. Check out that cover to Lobo #1 where he's pointing at his crotch. It's like front and center. He's like, and then like there's a gold foil belt buckle. He's like, I got your comic enhancement cover right here. So yeah, I apologize. Grandfather clock going off in the background. Forgot to turn it off. Maybe it'll drown out the sound of my dog snoring if you can hear that. But anyways, getting sidetracked. So the cover came out. The Spider-Woman cover, and all the fucking feminists, you know, because they're fucking Puritans. They're just left-wing versions of fucking Puritans, and they can't stand anything being sexy and beauty. They can't stand fucking beauty, really. So they threw a hissy fit, and I haven't gotten this confirmed, but it sounds like Marvel might have canceled the cover. And I'm not sure if they did or not. I'm hearing conflicting reports. But for the sake of argument, let's say they did. That is complete horseshit, if they did. And it angers me to think that somewhere there's probably a fan of Spider-Woman that thought that cover looked cool. I didn't really think it looked cool. I thought the face looked kind of fucked up. But somewhere there's somebody who thought it looked awesome and just was eager to get it. And they can't have it now because a bunch of left-wing bullies took it from them. That's infuriating. And it has sparked a little Gamergate offshoot, ComicGate, which is basically the same thing as Gamergate. It's let's get these SJW bullies away from comics too before they, ruin them. And I'm a huge superhero fan. I love the superhero genre. It's so it's so amazing because it combines and distills some of the best elements from so many other genres. Like, there's this fantasy and sci-fi elements, and I mean the Marvel universe, the shared universe, is a place that you got zombies and mutants and vampires and demons and Norse gods and Egyptian gods and Roman gods and aliens and all manner of combination of those things running around. You can tell any story in it. You can explore any theme in it. It's so wonderful. And yeah, there's problems to it. I'm not saying the superhero genre is perfect, but there's so much good about it. And it's such a uniquely American genre, too. It's one of those things that America truly contributed to the arts. I don't want to see it pissed on by a bunch of moralizing busybodies. So, yay for ComicGate. I was hoping this would Gamergate. I was hoping that it wouldn't just be Gamergate. I was hoping that this would spill out into geek media in general. Now, obviously, video games are more popular than superheroes. I mean, superhero movies are really popular, but superhero comics are always going to be somewhat niche. But I don't... Just a few months ago, the editor-in-chief of comicbookresources.com, one of the major comic book news sites, said that Guardians of the Galaxy was a great movie. He just wished there weren't so many fucking honkies in it. Literally, like, why is the lead a white man? That is the editor-in-chief of one of the major comic book news sites. Now, comic book news hasn't gotten as far infiltrated by the SJWs as gamer news had, but it's still pretty bad, and we still need to clean house. So, if you're a comic book fan, please, let's take some of this momentum and clean up in comics too, because we need it. We desperately need it. Alright, so, recently I saw a interesting little video. I forget off the top of my head who did the video, but I'll put a link down in the description. And the premise was basically, the game Destiny came out recently. And it's gotten pretty negative reviews. Kind of mixed, but from what I can tell, on the negative side. And it was a majorly hyped game. Now, confession time, I don't really know jack shit about Destiny. First I really remember hearing about it was when some of the anti-Gamergate people were hoping that it coming out would distract everyone from Gamergate. And part of that is because I don't necessarily play those types of games. And when I say those types of games, I mean the modern big budget, AAA, Space Marine, Michael Bay fucking games. I don't really play that, and I don't know. I gotta be careful how I say this, because I don't want to necessarily disparage whole fucking genres and paint with broad brushes, but there is an element, and yeah, part of it is I'm more of a retro gamer. I'm more into that style of gameplay. But I don't completely ignore modern games. I mean, I got really into Saints Row 2. But just a lot of these modern games, I feel like it's just like, here's slightly better graphics, or here's, I mean, I don't know. These big budget games, there's just a certain element of soullessness to it. A certain element of copycat, a certain element of just, I don't know. I don't necessarily want to paint everything with a broad brush, but so many of the AAA games, the modern AAA games, just don't really interest me that much. So I don't really know anything about Destiny. So I can't give you first-hand knowledge, but the video I mentioned, his point was that maybe some of the reason people didn't like Destiny so much is that maybe there's a certain element of being a little burnt out, being a little almost jaded on the part of many of these game critics, because they're older. They're in their mid-20s to early 30s. And they're old enough to remember a time when gaming was a little bit more new. And it seemed like at the time, more revolutionary games came out in quicker succession. And part of that was just games were so new. Almost every step forward seemed revolutionary. Early arcade games like Donkey Kong and Pac-Man had one screen. And then you get like Super Mario Brothers and Ghosts and Goblins, games like that, where it's like, holy crap, it just kept going. And then, the graphics would get better and better, and oh wow, look at this, and then, next thing you know, it's like, holy crap, like, some of the stuff the Super Nintendo could do, like F-Zero and Star Fox. Well, that looks incredibly dated now. At the time, it was like, wow, that's amazing. And then full 3D games like Tomb Raider and Super Mario 64 and stuff like that. And a lot of the early 3D games didn't age well, but those are just some examples that I think have aged well. But it's like, wow, look at it. And everything seemed so revolutionary at the time. And you're not going to get as much of that now. You don't have as much of that now. Now, part of that is that you're not going to get as much of it because just the nature that, when you're between one ages, 0 to 5, there's so many milestones in your life. But when you get older, there's less and less milestones. There's less and less firsts. And that's true of a budding medium, budding industry. There's less and less firsts. That's part of it. Just as things get old, there's just going to be a level of, there's just going to be less revolutionary things. Now, I've also heard it argued that part of that is that there's a certain laziness and stagnation on the part, that maybe there should be more maybe part of this isn't necessarily that it's slowed down naturally, but that there's an idiotic, how should I put this? I don't necessarily step on toes, but I've heard it argued that maybe there's a certain laziness on the part of the creators, and maybe part of that is because people will just continue to eat up the same shit. A slightly different improved thing, and people are like, yeah, it's amazing. And so many hardcore gamers just are so impressed with ever so slight increases in graphics. I mean, what is the real difference between a PS4 and a PS3 other than slightly improved graphics? I can't. What does the PS4 really do for me that the PS3 couldn't, other than, again, a little bit prettier? And I don't even, and again, when everything is just a fucking shooter and it's shades of brown and gray, I don't know that I necessarily care about the graphics anymore at this point. And I know I like a lot of things that are derivative and necessarily repetitive. I mean, I play Mario games. And certainly Mario has been accused, sometimes justly, sometimes unjustifiably, about being incredibly just derivative, repetitive games. I don't necessarily think that's as true as people say, like, every Mario game's the same. Well, no. Super Mario 3 and Dr. Mario and Mario Kart and Super Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine and Mario Galaxy and Paper Mario are all very different games. Now, yeah, you can argue that, Mario 3 is awfully similar to Super Mario World, although I think there's a good amount of changes there. And you can certainly argue that, like, the new Super Mario series, like new Super Mario Wii and Wii U, are pretty much the same damn thing. Super Mario 3D Land, I think, is an interesting, or 3D World I played. I didn't play 3D Land. Is an interesting thing. It's 3D, but it kind of plays a little like a 2D game. It's kind of an interesting take there. But yeah, Land and World are very similar from what I understand. But by the same token, I think there's a good amount of diversity in Mario games. Getting sidetracked though, I've certainly, I certainly like games that are accused of that too, so I understand that. And I understand a lot of it's just not my taste. So, from an outsider looking in perspective, maybe it's going to seem more similar than those games really are. But I'm just not necessarily appealed to by the Michael Bay-esque vibe I get off some of these games. And that's just me, I guess. But like I said, I'll link to the video below. I think it's an interesting discussion. There isn't a lot of innovation in games right now. There really isn't. I mean, even Nintendo's attempts at innovation, a lot of it, like the pad for the Wii U and all, you could argue that's just stupid gimmick crap. It's not really an innovation in the gameplay itself. Um, but beyond that, I mean, what was it when Xbox One came out and there was some game, I guess a Call of Duty or something, they were like, hey, look, you can get a dog with you. Like, that was their big selling point. And this was back when Xbox One was, like, full butt rape you mode. Like, you know, all the DRM bullshit and gotta be online every day and all that crap. It was at their initial reveal. But they're like, hey, look, a dog with this game. And it's like, fuck you. Oh, wow, a dog. You can have a dog in, like, one of the Fable games. Fucking Mega Man had a dog. Oh, you got a dog. Wow. Yeah, because there's never been a fucking dog in a video game. That's amazing. You fucking genius. That's just, oh, wow. So yeah, an interesting topic. I think there's not as much innovation, and maybe that's part of what, you know, the guy in the video said games are now more evolutionary than revolutionary in their steps forward. How much of that is just inevitable from an industry that has matured, you know, that is no longer in its infancy, and how much of that is laziness on the part of gaming? I don't know. I think it's an interesting topic to have, but I think he did hit a nail on the head that there's a certain level of lack of innovation, and it's worth exploring why. All right, so another little topic. Obviously, I'm big into the retro games. I've mentioned that numerous times. And recently I said I started getting into Bomberman. Wario Blast actually got me into it on the Game Boy. Since then, I played Super Bomberman on the Super Nintendo, which is decent. I enjoyed it. I actually preferred Mega Bomberman on the Genesis a little bit more, but that's kind of pricey. That can run you about $30. I got Bomberman GB on the Game Boy, which is just a Game Boy version of Bomberman, and it's typical Bomberman gameplay, but it's an odd little story. Bomberman's like looking for a treasure for some reason, and he's blowing up ghosts and monsters in these old temples. He's dressed like Indiana Jones too. He's got like a fucking fedora and shit. It's a fun little game. And I played the original Bomberman on the NES, which is pretty good. I played Bomberman Act Zero on a 360, which is basically they took Bomberman for the NES and did it with the, at the time, modern graphics for the 360. It was like '06. It was an early 360 game, and completely sucked all the fun and the soul out of it. I guess it kind of comes back to my point on modern games being just a little bit soulless. You know what? A bit of a sidetrack. The perfect example of why I think modern games have a certain soullessness to them. I was a big Tomb Raider fan back in the day. I had Tomb Raider 1 and 2 on the computer, on my PC, and at the time my dad wasn't going to buy me video game systems anymore. I was like a young teenager, like 13, 14, maybe 15 around this time, and he didn't want to buy me new video game systems because he's a boomer, God bless him, and you know video games are stupid, damn, you know, whatever. Which he softened on in his old age. I've gotten him to see the actual art to it. But you know, I don't want you just go outside and play. I'm fucking 14 at the time. What are you doing? Whatever. But he wouldn't buy me video game systems after like the Sega Genesis. So I missed out on like N64, PS1 level stuff. It wasn't until like 2005 when I got a PS2 that I started getting systems again. And then I discovered like about a year later the retro game stores in my area. A year or two later, I guess it was. But in '05, actually, a girlfriend bought me online a Sega Genesis, so I had a Sega Genesis and a PS2 at that point. But anyways, getting back, I had, he would buy me games on the PC. I guess he thought they were, you know, educational or something somehow. I don't know what the fuck his line of thinking was. I'm not sure he did either. But I remember the one year he got me Tomb Raider and Oddworld, which is another actual good game. But I was a big fan of the Tomb Raider games. Huge fan of the Tomb Raider games. Like I said, I had Tomb Raider 1 and 2 on... I think I had 2 on the PC. I think. I know I had 1. You know, now I think I might have been playing 2 at like a friend's house on the PlayStation or something a lot. But I played the shit out of 2. I just remember and I had one on the PC. And I loved it. I fell in love with the character and the franchise right away. To the point where when there was a Tomb Raider comic book that launched in 1999, about 2 years before, there was a Tomb Raider Witchblade crossover, which was one of like the Image things. It was in what was called the Top Cow line, the Top Cow universe, which had like Witchblade and the Darkness, which a lot of gamers would probably know. And Magdalene was another one, this Catholic assassin chick, it was kind of cool. Witchblade was kind of cool. It was some of it hasn't aged well, but it's definitely a really cool concept and a really cool character. But they introduced Lara Croft into this universe in a Tomb Raider Witchblade comic one-shot that I remember seeing like it advertised in comic books. You could order it online. It's like Tomb Raider in a comic book. I was like, fucking sold. So I got that and I enjoyed it. And then it launched into a Tomb Raider series, which took place in that Top Cow universe, but was pretty solid at first. It kind of went downhill a little bit and had ups and downs. It had like, I think, at least a 50-issue run. And various one-shots and offshoots kind of things. But I remember I was so into the Tomb Raider comic book too. Because it was a way I could like, games are expensive. It was a way I could get my Tomb Raider fix a little bit more cheaply. And I loved it so much. And I'm ashamed almost to admit, but I got suckered into the alternate cover bullshit too. Order an alternate cover. I had like 5 different covers for number 1. I had like 3 for number 2. I think of the first 10 issues plus issue 0, which showed up for some reason, and issue 1/2 I ordered at a Wizard. I think if you add 0, 1/2, and then 1 through 10, I think I had a total of like 22 altogether because I had all these damn alternate covers. I ordered 2 alternate covers that were the exact same thing, except one had a gold foil stamp over the Tomb Raider logo and one didn't. That's how far into the alternate cover shit I got on this. I was just obsessed with it. I fucking loved it. So needless to say, big Tomb Raider fan here. And flash forward to now, and I kind of got out of it a little bit, but I always had a love for it. I always would at least maybe check out one of the newer games. But then came the new rebooted Tomb Raider. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Just sucking the heart and soul and creativity out of it. Tomb Raider used to be this fun, sexy thing with it's like Indiana Jones with tits. And, she was flirty, but she wasn't slutty or objectified, regardless of what Anita Skumskizian wants to say. She was strong and capable, but she was still very feminine. It was such a wonderful character. It was such a wonderful... Hell, I even liked the Angelina Jolie movies, and a lot of people didn't seem to like them. They were some of my favorite movies based on video games ever. It was just so cool, and now it's like Uncharted with tits, and it's all grim and gritty, and just devoid of fun. And I haven't played the new Tomb Raider game, I'll give you that. But I have watched tons of Let's Plays. And I read the first issue of the new comic book, which is based off of the new rebooted game that Dark Horse is doing. And it's just... I miss when Tomb Raider was fun. Now the franchise is moody and cutting itself. I fucking... Ugh. Just suck the fun out of it. Which, coming full circle, that's what Bomberman Act Zero was. It was taking this cool little... NES game with a cartoon robot who throws bombs at people and just completely sucking the soul out of it. Alright. So, holy crap did I get on a tangent there. I got into the Bomberman game series, which if you're looking into getting into retro games is a great series. And by the way, I don't know if Bomberman has ever been in a Smash Brothers game, but if he hasn't, he should be. Because he is pretty cool. I know they've had, like I said, there was Wario Blast, which was a game on the Game Boy, which was essentially a Bomberman game. You could play as either Wario or Bomberman, and you had to defeat each other in the Bomberman maze with bombs and all that shit. But it was essentially a Bomberman game, but somehow Wario got top billing. So Hudson, which owns Bomberman, has worked together with Nintendo before on this sort of thing. If he hasn't been in Smash Brothers, he needs to at least be in the next one, if not maybe a DLC for the current one coming out. Much as I hate DLC, I might actually get DLC for him. Other game series I just got into, like just a few days ago, Bubble Bobble. A classic arcade game at the time, and the basic premise was you're a little cute little dragon guy. You blow bubbles. When you blow bubbles on an enemy, you can then pop the bubble and it'll kill the enemy. That's how you kill the enemy. I've played Bubble Bobble on the NES, and I can't even remember if I played it as a kid. I'm not sure if I ever did. I kind of knew of its existence, but it's only recently I decided I'll hop into it. Played Bubble Bobble on the NES, pretty good. The gameplay it's all single screen until you clear out all the enemies and you move to the next screen. There's like 100 levels, so I haven't, at least 100 levels. I haven't beaten Bubble Bobble. The music it's the definition of an earworm. It's good, but it's gonna be stuck in your head all day. So I played Bubble Bobble on the NES. Played Bubble Bobble on the Game Boy, which is basically the same thing, but the levels are a little simpler. Played Bubble Bobble 2 on the Game Boy, which I think is a pretty good improvement. Bubble Bobble 1, both the Game Boy and the NES, it's one-hit kill, which can be annoying as shit. Now, on the NES at least, and I haven't played the Game Boy one enough to know this, but in the NES at least, you get like unlimited continues. So it almost doesn't matter. It's like infinite lives, basically. But still, one hit, one kill is annoying as hell. You actually get a little heart meter in Bubble Bobble 2, so that's a bit of an improvement. I haven't played Bubble Bobble 2 on the NES because I've seen a few prices of it, and it's stupid expensive. I think it's one of the later NES titles, and that's why when there wasn't a very high production run. But Bubble Bobble is definitely a game. If you're looking to get into retro games, it's definitely a game I recommend. It's simple. It's almost in that perfect sweet spot of video games, where it's easy to learn but hard to master, like Tetris or something. It's a wonderful little time waster. The music is great. The little dragon guys are adorable. It's great fun. I don't know how else to put it. Remember when video games were fun, and this is just great, good old fashioned fun. I'm sure somehow it's misogynistic. I'm sure Anita Skumskizian could tell me how it's somehow misogynistic. The dragons probably, I guess, represent, I don't know, the penis somehow. And they're shooting bubbles, which is actually semen, which is covering the enemies, which are somehow female, and it's, I don't know, oppressing them. I'm sure, you know what, fuck it. I'm sure it could be misogynistic. Why don't you get on that, Anita? Alright, tell me how and why Bubble Bobble is misogynistic. I'd almost be entertained to hear. I'm sure you can do it. I'm sure you can pull all kinds of misogynistic bullshit, or all sorts of, feminist bullshit out of your little butthole, and tell me exactly why Bubble Bobble is oppressing women. Or maybe it's oppressing minorities. I don't know. It could be oppressing minorities. We could go with that. Maybe somehow Bubble Bobble victimizes Puerto Ricans, for example. I don't know. Run with it, Anita. Let's see what you can do. Or maybe it's transphobic. Or homophobic somehow. Maybe it's homophobic. Maybe the Bubble Bobble dragons are trying to make sure that homosexuals can't marry by shooting bubbles at other monsters. Because I don't know. See what you can do there, Anita. That would be my advice for you. All right. I mean, you're becoming increasingly irrelevant, even within your movement. So why don't you spice it up a little bit? You know what? I'll give you an idea. Pong. Pong is a perfect example of sexism, really, when you think about it. Because, clearly the paddles are phallic symbols, right? And the dot, that's obviously a woman who's been so marginalized and objectified by a culture of sexism that she's been rendered just this little dot, right? And she's trying to escape this pattern of abuse. And each time, this mighty obelisk, which is white, so I'm sure there's racist elements, it blocks her path, and it deflects her, no doubt sexually assaulting her in the process, towards another player who repeats it. So basically, it's a rape simulator, really, when you look at it. Pong is obviously a rape simulator. I don't know how you missed that, Anita, by the way. I mean, in all your looking at why video games are sexist, you forgot to look at one of the most basic video games. One of the video games in its infancy was all about oppressing women. You're slipping in your old age there, Scumskeezy, and you really got to get on this. I mean, Bomberman, that's clearly misogynistic. Arini and I were talking about that a couple podcasts ago, I guess it was, or one podcast ago, I don't know. But, obviously the bombs are the testicles, and the little balloon monsters, they're ovaries somehow. Clearly, these games are, clearly they're oppressing women. So I hope Anita will come out with a new video here soon to explain to us why Pong is oppressive to, I don't know, let's say, Asian transsexuals? Whatever. Who knows? I'm just a white man. What the hell do I know? Alright, folks. Thanks as always for listening. Bechtloff out.